From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan. If you got a tip for Melissa, a dark change in the tone in that conversation with the church handyman, the sudden silence when you bring up the old cafetorium at your high school reunion, what Bert Convy was really like, anything, tell us about it by calling the Tipster Hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, keeping her head down, her powder dry, and her stash of Count Chocula in an undisclosed pantry, Melissa Morgan.
So I'm really excited today to have a professional broadcaster with me. She's actually got a million different credits, but I'm going to call her a professional broadcaster, where she is going to help me, and I am so happy to have a guest co-host today, and that is my beloved Angelique Perrin. And I'm fighting with her whether I call her Angie, which is how I met her, or Angelique. What do you want me to call you?
You can call me what you want to, as long as it starts with an A.
Okay, I'm not calling you Brad. I'm not calling you a-hole. All right, I now kind of am into the Angelique, so I'm going to call you that.
Okay.
So I'm going to explain how we met, and I can't believe it was 1,000 years ago, because Angelique looks like she's 27. So
Thank you.
Yeah, you do. It's not fair, but you are who you are. Anyway, it was 2002. Take you back to 2002. I was probably in one of the lowest places in my life. I had left the Phil Hendry show. I'm working behind the desk at Black Dog Yoga. And I believe that you were looking for a writer for Harrison on the Edge.
Yes, for Sirius XM.
Yep.
Sirius OutQ.
Yep.
Yes.
So Angie, is, like I said, an amazing broadcast professional. So this is, you guys, the Tipsters, are very blessed here today to have this. So
Oh, stop it. You are setting this up.
I'm not. It's I'm not writing any checks that you can't cash.
Okay.
You are a spectacular human being. So she does a million different things. We'll get to that in a second. But so I'm just going to go back down memory lane to tell you how much I remember the second I met her. I'm working behind the desk at Black Dog Yoga. She walks in wearing high heel boots up to her knees and a Donna Karan wrap dress. And she has a body that's enviable if you're a chick and desirable if you're a dude.
Okay, none of that sounds like me. But
It was you. You had come. It was you in spades. You had come from an audition, and you were dressed like a fucking runway model. And I'm like, this is what this girl shows up to talk to me about writing.
No.
Why are you raising your hand?
No.
This is not 7th grade.
No.
Yes,
No.
yes,
No.
yes,
Because you guys have to understand, I am 5'4", so on no planet have I ever looked like a runway model. But go ahead, Melissa.
A
This is
runway
her.
model with great boobs and butt. So anyway, not a stick, but a runway model with great boobs and butt. So she sits down on a couch opposite me, and I'm like, this woman is gorgeous. It's a shame that she uses her voice and not her whole everything. But you sat down, and I was just like a dark, depressed bitch with like black hair and pointy bangs. And probably the only good thing in my life is that I had just recently married Mark Humphreys, and that was a blessing. And I'm working behind the desk at Black Dog Yoga in exchange for yoga classes. So Angie comes in and sits down, and we're talking, and she looks, she's looking for somebody to write kind of comedy bits for this Sirius XM radio show she's a co-host on. And I wrote some stuff, and God bless Angie, loved it. Harrison did not. He was horribly offended by me, hated everything I wrote. You insisted on reading it, and he hated everything about me. And you have always been so amazing and supportive. And you may not remember this, but I do.
I don't remember one drop of it except you having black hair that I thought was cool as
Black
hell.
hair and pointy bangs. And I wrote something about the woman who cried rape for Kobe Bryant. She should consider herself lucky.
You know what? And that's probably, I was such a Kobe hater. That's probably what drew me to you, that you were just irreverent and just
I was sarcastic.
Like.
Yeah. And you read that, and Harrison did not like it at all. So you have always been so like positive and supportive of me. And you at one time said, as I was like whining about something, you go, don't you understand? I'm here to help you make all your dreams come true.
I said that?
You did.
And here I am again. What is wrong with me?
I don't know. You can't seem to let me go. I remember one time walking around Lake Balboa with Mark, and you were walking around Lake Balboa, and
we randomly bumped into each other?
we ran into each other. And there was a woman who was very angry and yelling at someone, and out of the blue, you go, she needs Jesus. And I thought I was going to fall into Lake Balboa. I was laughing so hard. And I was like, the thing is, Angie speaks the truth. I think that woman probably needs Jesus or Buddha or whatever. But
I don't say that often.
I don't see that coming out of your mouth often. But it was perfectly placed. So that is a good indication of Angie's timing. So she's an actress. She's a world-renowned voiceover artist. You will recognize her voice in a million different things you see and hear on TV. She has like a fan base because she's a Star Wars character, and she has Star Wars fanboys who want to lick her butt. So anyway,
oh my God,
we know that's true.
I have little boys and their dads who love Star Wars, Clone Wars.
Right.
I am a Jedi.
You are in so many ways.
Atagalia, thank you.
Yeah, you are.
and my butt is off limits.
Yeah, that's up to you. You can set boundaries, but I know there's a bunch who want to lick your butt.
Oh God.
So many times over the years, when Angelique was on Cafe Mocha Radio, I would get this weird text out of the blue, like, "Hey, I have a question for you about yoga." And I would come on and like say a sentence or two and then go away. It was like hilarious.
And we're neighbors, so
now we are. Yeah, it's so weird.
We've been neighbors really for a while.
Yeah. Well, I think I lived in the valley, and I guess you lived in the valley, and then we moved up here, and then you and Mama Jay moved up here, and so but you're like I'm going to call you bi-coastal because you're bi-coastal. You do a lot of stuff everywhere. Yeah. I
just don't remember the story going the way you said it went.
I remember it.
You know what? I really thought we met because I stopped into Black Dog Yoga, and you were dynamic and fun and crazy, and it was just a natural chemistry.
You came for a reason.
Okay.
It was, I think you'd posted something on, I don't know, I'm going to say Craigslist and make it sound like we're both whores, but you were looking for a writer for Harrison.
It probably was Craigslist because that's pretty much all there was
back in the day.
This was pre-Facebook, wasn't
it?
Right.
Yeah, probably because it's 2002. Yeah.
Was it that double-breasted Donna Karen that just went this?
A wrap dress.
That was bad. I couldn't fit into that.
It was a wrap dress. Yeah, I remember thinking, this girl's body is incredibly gorgeous. Why does she just use her voice? She should like make money off of just looking beautiful.
That sounds like another ad for Craigslist.
But it was for a writing gig. It wasn't for back pages or whatever it's called, wherever you get friends and companions. No, there are very few people. Ironically, the other person I remember meeting and everything about meeting her was 25 or more years ago, my best friend, Angie.
Okay.
I remember what she had on. I remember, I can tell you her clothing, and she has confirmed, she's like, that's right, I did have that. We met at a Christmas party, and I remember there's a few people in my life that have walked into my life, and I'm like, you're just kind of like taken aback because they make such an impression. You're one of those people.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here today.
No problem. She got me my yoga mat. So every time I downward facing dog, I think of Melissa. I mean,
that's very yogic and sweet, and also slightly pornographic. It sounds like you're flirting a little bit.
Not unless we go back to
whenever you have your butt in the air.
Right.
Yeah. Whenever you have your butt in the air, you think of me, and that's how I want to be thought of, I think. Whenever Angelique has her butt in the air, she thinks of me. And that is, that's what downward facing dog. So So Angelique is I'm going to just say that she's taking some time to help me here today. And I'm so grateful. Right. No, I know you're not, clear. But you are.
My mom bought me this cool piece of equipment.
She did.
And it's been in a box for 2.5 months. And this is the perfect opportunity to pull it out, plug some mics in, and have a good time with Melissa.
It's a beautiful thing. But I mean, you're a broadcasting professional and I'm a podcasting amateur, and I'm just so grateful you're here because the Tipsters know, because I've apologized over and over again. I'm like, I'm trying so hard, and I'm so bad with technology. I love my voice, and I'm a good storyteller. I'm a good bitch with a microphone, but I hate all the other stuff that you're good at. And I'm just,
Well, I got the buttons ready. I'm
You do,
pressing.
and they're beautiful. Can I just say this, Roadcaster Pro is like a Christmas
I
tree.
know. I'm
It's
so
really
excited. I
beautiful.
hope this doesn't sound like garbage
It's
when we
not
produce
gonna.
it.
No, it's not gonna. And you have like a mic that is phenomenal. And Mark Humphreys made sure I had a good mic. So that's, yeah, I'm blessed in that way. And ironically, when Angelique and I had coffee a couple of weeks ago, I did not know she was a true crime buff, and I thought it was too gruesome for her. But this isn't gruesome because it's audio. I'm not going to show her pictures of dead people. And this case is interesting to me because we don't know that the missing person is deceased. We can assume, but you know what happens when we assume. So it's a really good case. And it was brought to me by a tipster, Sheldon, and he's a friend of the family. And this girl, Rebekah Barsotti, went missing in July of 2021. And it was, I hate to say this and sound crappy, but I wish she could have gone missing anywhere else because she went missing in Montana. And there's a lot of wide open spaces and a lot of nature and a lot of law enforcement that isn't maybe trained in something other than a natural environment accident. So they immediately said, "Oh, you know what? She went in the river. She's gone." We don't have her body. It's a great story. So I'm gonna go back. I'm already ahead of myself, but I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Rebekah Barsotti, when she went missing, was 33 years old. If she is still with us, she turned 34 in December. But she is like a lot of us. She grew up in a small town in Virginia and was like, this place is not big enough for me. So here's the interesting part. Instead of going to like New York or Chicago, she moves to Montana.
Okay.
I know.
This had to have something to do with a man because you
No,
just
not
don't
yet, but
leave
it does now.
Virginia
Yeah,
to
no.
Montana without a man being involved
What-
or love.
Maybe. She was 19 and she came home from work one day and told her mom, it's a small family, just her and her brother. And she said, this place isn't big enough. I'm moving. So she moves to Mineral County in Montana. She does meet a man, but not for a while. She apparently is very successful at a high-end restaurant and, makes good money and works there. And she meets a man named David Barsotti. Now, David is, I'm going to say problematic because they have a relationship. They were married 5 years, but everything you think you know about David may not be true. He said he was a special ops Marine.
Okay. I mean, that just sounds like a lie right out the gate.
Well,
but she's 19, so we might.
But she
her.
was she was like 23,
Okay.
I think, when they got together.
Okay.
So she was, still young. Yeah.
Still
and so,
falling for lines like I'm a black ops.
right. And I can't find out a whole lot about him because after she went missing, he becomes, obviously the spouse becomes, patient zero. Everyone focuses on you. He gets extremely defensive and then takes all of his social media down. But you can find some old pictures of him. And some of them he has an eye patch. I'm like, was he a pirate or was it Halloween or was it a fake injury? I don't know. There's some things that have come out since Rebekah's gone missing that he may not have really gotten anything past boot camp. So I don't think he was a special forces, Yeah. So there are some details that are really weird and strange, but let's go back to March of 2021. Their relationship, they were married 5 years, had been rocky at best. Rebekah is a very independent girl and I think didn't want to complain to her parents, but would occasionally call her parents back in Virginia and say, I'm locked out of the house again. And it would be like 10 o'clock at night.
What?
So they had some issues. And in March of 2021, she calls 911 for a domestic violence issue. They show up. They press charges against David. And she, at that point, gets an order of protection. She moves out in April to Missoula, Montana. in Missoula County. So it's a different, Mineral County is an even smaller jurisdiction, but she moves to Missoula.
Big city.
Yeah, the big city. Yeah, big city for Mineral County. I swear to God, I think the town that's closest to where they lived in Mineral County is called the Town Dump. Or it's called Town Dump. It's a name of a city, Town Dump.
Population 12.
I think. I mean, I'm not even sure, but it's Town Dump is a town, I think. So she moves to Missoula and she has her own residence and she has a dog. This is my favorite part. The dog's name is Cerberus. Cerberus is the hound of hell with 3 heads who guards the gates to Hades. Right. Cerberus is a Belgian Malinois like my girl Siren, also named after Greek mythology, except her name isn't Siren like she's luring men to the rocks. Her name is Siren because she's a loud-ass bitch like a siren. So Cerberus is a sweet boy dog, and I think her good companion when she's, splitting up with her husband and things aren't going well, but she's trying to carve out something on her own and in constant contact with her family, but she's just a very independent girl. So we cut to July 20th of 2021. They hadn't actually filed divorce papers, but they are absolutely living separately. And apparently, according to her family, it costs money to file divorce papers. So maybe nobody was in that big of a hurry because she had her own separate, residence. And his court case for the domestic violence charge was coming up in September. And she would be, testifying against him. So July, I believe it was a Thursday, July 20th of 2021, she meets with an intermediary who gives her her last personal effects from the marital home she has with David in a grocery shopping bag. The intermediary is described as David's caretaker.
What is that in English?
I don't have any idea why he would need a caretaker. I don't know what his physical disability is, if any, or mental disability. I don't know what you get assigned a caretaker for. I mean, I know what you would get assigned a caretaker for if you're older or physically infirm. Yeah. He's neither, as far as I know. Okay. So I don't know why a caretaker, but the caretaker hands her the last bag of her things from their home at a truck stop. She then goes down to the river with her dog Cerberus and her iPhone and takes some video of her training Cerberus along the banks of the Clark Fork River. And then, I guess it's an hour or two later, a family from Oregon is on the banks of the river and they see sunglasses, a shirt, an iPhone, maybe keys on the banks. And they think, what's this? They call 911. They come and retrieve these items. They're Rebekah's. Rebekah's car is parked in the parking area above where you would walk down to the river. And no one has seen or heard from her since. So at 10 p.m., they knock on her husband's door. Your wife is missing and all her items are found by the creek. Well, what are you bothering me for?
Wow.
Yes. He calls her parents in Virginia. It's late at night and they don't get the message till the following morning. But they do something that I think is extraordinary. They pick up lock, stock, and barrel and move to Missoula, Montana. Move.
Okay.
I'm assuming they still own their home in Virginia, but they have secured a residence that they are in and will not leave till they find their daughter.
That's beautiful.
They're amazing parents. Yeah. Angela Mastrovito, her mother, and her husband Terry are phenomenal people. And God forbid if anything were to happen to us, we need those people because they won't give up. Right. And Angela didn't start by pointing fingers at David Barsotti, but she actually didn't even mention the domestic violence thing until it became much more clear we can't find her. There's no body. We don't know if she's in the river, but I can tell you a terrible thing. 6 days later, Cerberus is found 10 miles downstream. 10 miles downstream from where Rebekah's items were found. He was so decomposed in 6 days that the e-collar that she had on him was embedded, and there's a lot of supposition online, but I'm just going to have to lay it all out there, and you can disregard what you don't think is important, and you can think about what maybe is important. This e-collar, according to the vet that they took the dog to, was so embedded they couldn't get the e-collar off the dog, so the dog was cremated with the e-collar on. Now, a remote for the e-collar was found with Rebekah's items on the bank. There have been people who've said, there are tracking collars on wolves and mountain lions for years.
Right.
And they're found deceased from old age and out in nature in the wild, and you're able to get the collar off.
So, I mean, what does it mean that it was so embedded? I mean, what does
It
that
can
indicate?
mean a couple things. It can mean that maybe there was such a level of decomposition. I think in 6 days it would be hard to imagine that, but maybe. It can also mean that the female vet, is a personal friend of David Barsotti's. So Cerberus was cremated, and there was no necropsy done.
So we don't know what happened to that dog.
Right. We can just assume that Cerberus died from drowning, but that's an assumption. We also might want to point out that a week before Rebekah went missing, David was overheard saying, "I'm going to kill you and that dog and drown you in the river."
And who heard that?
I'm only going to say, because I can't definitively give you this, I'm going to say it's hearsay. You can disregard it. There's a whole lot of things that are supposition. And God forbid if any of us are in a fight with our partner and they go missing, God forbid, because maybe he's as innocent as the day is long. Sometimes you have to go and weigh, maybe this is an innocent man with a history of a relationship that was troubled, with a domestic violence charge, with her being locked out of their home. And she's, a small petite girl. If he really is, a special ops Marine. So her parents are really compelling. Her mother is a wonderful advocate and voice for her. Her mom is just kind of amazing in interviews. She, like I said, at first she didn't even mention the domestic violence charge.
Right.
She did allude to, since they were together, there have been problems in the marriage, but she never said, he beat her, because I wonder if Rebekah even told them that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Normally, when there's abuse, a lot of times, unless you see it, the black eye or, the trip to the
Exactly.
emergency room, you don't know what's going on until they reveal it. I mean, do we know if this domestic violence incident was the final straw?
Right.
Was it the first straw or was it the final straw?
Right.
Because
I don't know.
Right.
I'm going to think that if there was something previous, she didn't report it. And I think that if it was the first time, it would be difficult to imagine it going from 0 to 80, but maybe it did.
Exactly.
Maybe it did. But she called 911 and they showed up, and he wanted to file charges against her, but they ended up filing charges against him. So he had the charges. He was going to have to appear in court. And she got the hell out. She was living in a trailer, and, it was her and her dog. She wasn't going to, go back. And again, they have an intermediary for all of her items. It's not, you hear about these kind of things a lot of times in custody battles where people are fighting and they, just to make things clean, like they trade off the child for like the weekend at the police station, so that, in case something happens, there's witnesses and you're not going to get, too much, too out of hand if law enforcement is there to keep you, So, I mean, I'm sad and shocked that it took until March of 2021, but maybe, I mean, how hard is it to get an order of protection? I think you have to prove. I can't show up to the Santa Clarita Sheriff's Station and say, Angelique Perrin is bugging me. I'd like an order of protection against her. I have to prove. To get an order of protection, you have to show cause. They're not easy to get. How many times have we heard about people that tried to get them too late and they, end up beaten or murdered or, it's not an easy thing. So she was able to get an order of protection. And I'm going to tell you that, and I don't want to cast aspersions on law enforcement, but I'm going to have to. There's rumors that the sheriff of Mineral County, Mike Toth, is a friend of David Barsotti's. I don't have proof of that, but I can tell you in my estimation, there's some places to go to look for sources on this case. The Missoulian, NBC Dateline, KRTV, ABC Fox in Montana. But my hand to God, the best place for you to find information about this case is on YouTube. And it is a video of the Mineral County, Montana Board of Commissioners from November 26th of 2021. Fast forward to about 30 minutes in. There's this city stuff that goes on. And then about 30 minutes in, Rebekah's mother, Angela Mastroevito, gets to talk. And Mike Toth, the sheriff of Mineral County, gets to talk. And it is combative. And he is defensive. And you know what? You're an elected official. And you're elected to bring peace to your community, to make people feel safe. And when a mother of a missing person that from minute one you have said is a river accident, and she wants you to investigate further, when you're rude and dismissive of her, fuck you. Fuck you. I am a big proponent of law enforcement. I also know there are shitty cops and good cops, and shitty plumbers and good plumbers. But I am so offended at this sheriff. And her mother has done, in my mind, everything the right way. She didn't escalate immediately. She was available for interviews. She didn't say, I'm unhappy with the investigation. She said, in the most diplomatic way possible, it's being listed as a river accident, and I just hope that someone else takes another look to see if it's something else. Because her husband has an order of protection against him for domestic violence. I feel like that's something that should be looked into a little closer. I can tell you that they say David is not a suspect. He was with friends all day. Huh. Is that all you need? Is that all you need? Are his friends, they're going to vouch for him the entire... Guess whose property backs up against the Clark Fork River? David Barsotti and Rebekah Barsotti's property. I'm not saying it's close to where she went missing. I'm just saying that's just another piece of information. This is just all I'm giving you is information. If you watch this video on YouTube, you're going to see Mike Toth behave not professionally. And you're going to see Angela Mastroevito honestly give a listing of everything they've looked at and tried in their daughter's case, and she sounds like an attorney.
Rebekah is actually part of 3 cases here in the county. I don't know if you're aware of that. There was a 911 call on March 9th for domestic abuse, which was followed by a PFMA charge against her estranged husband, David Barsotti, and a standing order of no contact. That case number is TK 595-2021 0000237, and that's from March 10th of 2021. And then Rebekah went missing on July 20th, and that case number is 2021-12676. And then the most recent case brought to your county is a threat on my husband's and myself life, which was reported in Missoula City and got punted to Missoula County and then punted here.
She doesn't sound pompous, but she has all of her T's crossed and her I's dotted. And all she's asking for is more help, more eyes on this case. Because Rebekah was living in Missoula, but I think Cerberus was found in Mineral County. Both counties are involved. Missoula has detectives, more detectives. Mineral County is small. One of the commissioners talks in that video and he says, I think the last time there was a homicide was 10 years ago.
See, they don't even know how to handle this.
Thank you.
And it's a small town, so you have to just assume, without me knowing anything, all those people know each other.
Thank you.
They all went to school together. They, see each other at the grocery store. So, yeah, they know him.
So, as happens sometimes with law enforcement, they toss the case back and forth. And Rebekah's mother, Angela Mastrovido, uses a term I hate. She calls it punting, but it's actually a really good word. I just hate it. It makes me feel that she feels disrespected. Her daughter's case is being punted back and forth between these two different jurisdictions, and nobody really knows what they're doing. I think you're right, Angie. I think you're right. They don't know what they're doing, and not that they don't want to be helpful, but when you immediately call it an accidental drowning, and there are so many other theories besides David Barsotti. It's close to a main highway. People are saying, what if it's human trafficking? She was young and very pretty. Yeah, it could be. That's just always my last go-to. I understand human trafficking happens. I'm not disregarding it. I just don't think every young girl that goes missing is picked up by some, ring of people who put them out on, on the internet to sell their body. Could it happen? Yes, probably. Yes. I'm not thinking. I don't think she walked away from her life. She wouldn't have left to get away. Could she have left to get away from David? Maybe. Would she have taken her dog? Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what Angela Mastrovido is asking for is the DCI, which is the Department of Criminal Investigation for the state of Montana. Kind of like our attorney general or, a larger entity that's like a state investigation. So she's asked that the DCI become involved. And apparently the roadblock to that was that Sheriff Mike Toth has to ask for them to become involved, and he wouldn't.
Right.
I didn't realize that a lot of search and rescue organizations that are available for help can't help unless they are officially invited by law enforcement. I didn't realize that. I did not realize that. I thought you could just start searching for someone. And you can, probably. I'm not going to say you can't because, a little group of us did that here in Santa Clarita when Will Sarazan went missing. Did we know what we were doing? I didn't, but I learned from people who knew better. It was sort of, we learned as we went, but they had some idea before they started. And I didn't join for a couple of months, and they already knew what they were doing. And by the time I got there, they would say, don't step there, don't do that, bring a stick so you can move, weeds out of the way. Or if there's, God forbid, a snake, don't touch anything. If you find something, point to it, take a picture of it, take the coordinates. I mean, it was for a group of ragtag people trying to find a missing man, and Will Sarazan's still missing, but we know what happened. But, we have no idea what happened to Rebekah Barsotti. She's just evaporated. Is she in the river? Maybe. Did her husband do something? Maybe. Did someone else do something? Maybe. I don't think she walked away.
You said there were other theories, that being sex trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other theories that you're hearing?
That she
walked away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's 3.
I wouldn't.
She's taken the dog.
I think you're right.
She's absolutely taken the dog.
And the fact that we don't know how Cerberus died. Here's what the sheriff of Mineral County says. Her dog got into the water and got into trouble, and she jumped in to save him. Maybe. The dog is found 10 miles downriver and she's not found. Here's some reasons why, and I love that you're shaking your head. Here's some reasons why it's not a great theory. Rebekah had an eye issue where she wore her sunglasses all the time. July 20th of 2021 was a 90-degree day. She would have had her it was 2 or 3 in the afternoon when this all happened. She would have had her sunglasses on. If her dog were in distress, would she have taken the time to take off her sunglasses, which were on a lanyard, lay her phone down, take her shirt off? You know, she had like probably a tank underneath her. So her shirt, his e-collar remote, her sunglasses, maybe her keys are found. Oh, and her iPhone are found on the bank. Would she have taken the time to do all of that and then jump in? If you think your dog's in distress, you're going to jump in with your fucking phone in your pocket, and your sunglasses on, and everything isn't. The other theory about everything being laid out linearly on the bank is that she had laid it out. And then the other theory that the sheriff's office is putting forth is that the family from Oregon who found her items laid them out. Maybe. No, I know. I know. No. I'm saying maybe because I'm trying to give them all of the leeway I can, and it's harder and harder. And if you see this video on YouTube, the way Mike Toth behaves is abysmal.
That's where everything's pointing to the river, because we've got items that are neatly set that would say somebody's sitting there enjoying themselves on a hot day with their dog, which is what she does and like to do. So everything matched, everything perfectly.
Can I
What is that?
interject for a minute?
Let me finish.
All right.
You did all the time. I didn't
All right.
interrupt you.
I'll let you finish.
Take right notes.
She did that all the time.
So you
She did that a lot.
She's missing her cane.
No, no kidding.
Okay,
I'm just
go
trying
ahead.
to say that's why
Go ahead.
she's upset.
What it comes down to is a girl's missing, and her parents and her brother and her friends who love her are hurting. Fucking show some compassion. They're not showing up at your office and throwing Molotov cocktails through your window.
Just wants them out.
Right.
You have to understand, though, I don't know if you've ever lived in a small town like that. I know you.
Oh, yeah.
you
Independence,
come from
Kentucky.
Kentucky,
Yeah.
but they don't take kindly to outsiders.
Oh my God, you're so fucking brilliant.
And those people,
You're brilliant.
It's one thing if you show up the first couple days after and be nice and polite and say, will you please help? It's another thing. It is considered aggressive if you move there. Because
You're
you're
exactly
not one
right.
of us. You're not one of us.
You know how right you are? Rebekah had lived there for 13, 14 years. Okay. She was still an outsider.
She is. She will always be an outsider.
You're exactly
there.
right.
When you come, if they don't know your grandmama and your great-grandmama,
You're exactly right.
then you're an outsider.
You are so incredibly right. You're so incredibly right. That's exactly what people who've lived there said. Rebekah has been here 13 or whatever years, and she's still an outsider. And her parents are absolutely outsiders.
Absolutely outsiders.
You're exactly right. So the people involved have lived there their whole lives. You're also right about that. They may have known David Barsotti. There's rumors that the sheriff was friends with him. In this video, I give him one point. He says, David's quirky. Now, is quirky code for David says that he was a, Black Ops Marine, or David puts his garbage cans out at the wrong time? There's quirky and there's like a compulsive liar. I'm going to tell you that one of David's ex-employers said David was the most sociopathic, compulsive lying, narcissistic human being I ever hired.
Wow. And what was his job?
I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. And because I'm wondering, why did he need a caretaker? Because I don't, the pictures of he and Rebekah online, he might be a little older than her, but I don't think he would be over 40. It doesn't mean that he didn't need a caretaker, but I don't know for what, and no one can answer me.
But I wonder if that was just a term used versus that being an actual description, like a legal or clinical definition
Well, it was a description that every media outlet has used, as well as the sheriff's department. David's caretaker handed Rebekah her items from the marital home in a grocery bag that was found in her car in the parking space. They use the word caretaker. And you're right. I would love to know the definition of a caretaker in Montana. Was
Yeah.
it a state appointed caretaker?
Was it just like your girlfriend who's staying there and taking
Right.
care of you? You're like, what is it?
Right. But for what? Why you can't take care of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly. So here's a point that her mother brought up at this commissioner's meeting that bothered me greatly. She got a notification from USAA that the insurance policy, the renter's insurance policy on Rebekah's trailer was canceled, and she had paid it in advance. Angela, her mother, had paid it in advance, and they told her it had been canceled because she was deceased. Now, who do you think cancels a USAA policy? David Barsotti, her husband.
Right. And that's only for people that
In
are
the military.
in the military.
Right. He was the only one able to cancel it, even though Angela paid for it for her daughter because it was in his name. He was the sponsor of the policy because he'd been in the military. So I have questions for people who might know. Can you get a USAA insurance policy if you've only just gotten out of boot camp and that's as far as you made it? Do you still, qualify for a USAA insurance policy? If you made it through boot camp and then something keeps you out of serving, bone spurs or, whatever, can you still qualify for a USAA insurance policy?
If I was over by my computer, I would look it up.
I've tried and I can't find the
you
answer.
can't find it,
I'm telling you, I'm like I dig and yeah, but we don't have to answer it. It's a rhetorical question. I'm asking it because I bet there are people who know. I'm not one of those people. But David did not show up to that commissioner's meeting. His, mother-in-law and father-in-law and concerned citizens who are worried that nobody's paying attention to Angela's case showed up. David did not. And he's like, people on Facebook are saying terrible things about me. As soon as people in the community said, please look closer at David Barsotti, he immediately got an attorney. Now, that's not a dumb thing. If your spouse goes missing, it's a smart thing,
Yeah.
especially if they're missing. We don't have a body. We don't know if she's deceased. We can presume, but we don't know.
And especially if there's a court case coming up because you beat her up.
There you go.
Come on.
There you go. I can tell you in my limited experience, when Mark passed away in our driveway, the sheriff's department showed up after the paramedics said we're going to have to call it. And they backed their SUVs together to block it for Mark's privacy. And it was September and everything was backed up because of the pandemic. And the sheriff's deputy said, we're waiting for the LA County Coroner's Office. Whenever there's a death at home, they have to come and sign off on it. And my hand to God, Angelique, I panicked because I host a true crime podcast. And I thought, oh, fuck, they think I killed him. And I texted my favorite detective from the Homicide Bureau and said, Mark passed away this morning, and I'm waiting for the LA County Coroner to come, and I'm scared. And within an hour, the sheriff's deputy got out of his SUV and came over and said, I just got a call from a detective. And I said, oh, he called you? And he goes, yeah, how do you know him? And I said, well, my husband and I host a true crime podcast, and he has been very good to us, and he let us tour the LA County Sheriff's Department Homicide Bureau. And he goes, they don't let anyone do that. And I said, I know. That's why I know how blessed I am. And he goes, well, this is obviously a natural death, so we're just going to wait for the mortuary. Because the LA County Coroner's Office was backed up so far because of the pandemic. So I'm not saying if you want to kill your husband, make sure you have a friend in the sheriff's department.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
I know, but I swear I wasn't trying to say that. What I'm saying is I'm really blessed I had a friend in the LA County Sheriff's Department because we would have been sitting out there in the heat for hours. A friend came over and put a pop-up tent over us. I mean, it was hot. And we were going to be there potentially 8 hours. But, you know, it became pretty clear when the mortuary came to take him that it was a natural. I mean, the paramedics, you know, were like, this is, you know, and I think hopefully anyone who knows me knows I wanted Mark to live forever. But yeah, I swear I wasn't trying to say you should use all your friends in law enforcement. But I'm hoping David Barsotti didn't use his friends in law enforcement. And I hope the people in law enforcement in Mineral County are not his friends. I swear to God, I really do. But even if they are, the sheriff is behaving abysmally in my mind. Yeah. He's treating them really badly. So there's a little bit of an update. The Mastro Vitos have secured the services of a pretty well-respected private investigator named James Terry. Now, he says he has gotten, and this is pretty interesting, gotten some information that he thinks is going to be helpful. They're looking for people who were near Council Grove State Park on July 2nd. Now, why July 2nd? I don't know, because I believe she went missing on July 20th. But this may or may not be important, but I'm going to say it anyway. Rebekah's windshield was cracked. Now, when they found her car at the parking area where she had walked down to the river with her dog, the bag of items from the marital house was there because she had just met the intermediary. Her windshield was cracked, and there had been reports that someone was throwing rocks at her car and her dog. So this private investigator is looking for anyone who may have been at the Council Grove State Park on July 2nd between 3 and 4 p.m. And if you know anything about what happened to Rebekah Barsotti, there's a $12,000 reward for any information leading to the recovery, is how they're voicing it, recovery of Rebekah Barsotti. She's 34 years old, 5'5", 130 pounds, blue eyes, sandy blonde, long hair. You can call an anonymous Crime Stoppers tip line at 406-721-4444. You can call the Mineral County Sheriff's Office at 406-822-3555, or Private Investigator James Terry at 813-993-2242. And Rebekah's parents have recently hired North Star Search and Rescue. They're going to be searching in the month of March after the spring thaw, and they are going to search the river. And basically they have said, if we don't find Rebekah, she's not in the river. That's a pretty bold statement. So I guess we'll see what March brings.
Wow. I want to know more about that husband.
So do I.
You need to call some high school friends. He's got enemies.
I hope so. I hope that's, honestly, that's what they're looking for, is for someone to come forward who knows more than, you know, just that his friend is the vet and maybe he's friends with the sheriff. That's all kind of hearsay. You know, his ex-employer saying he's the most, you know, sociopathic, narcissistic, compulsive liar I've ever hired. Pretty interesting, but also hearsay. So if anyone knows anything, I really hope they call the DCI, and maybe not Mineral County. But if you're in Mineral County and you want to call the sheriff's office, call them, because Rebekah's parents need closure. If you have a tip on a case or a missing person, please feel free to call us on the Tipster Hotline at 832-847-7837. That's 832-847-TIPSTER. You can also send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com, or you can find us on any of the social media platforms.